I like big plants, I cannot lie. Okay, that was so cringy. But if you're like me and you prefer your plants on the larger side, you don't always have to buy them that way. There are some plants that just make sense to buy smaller, and I have a list for you. Welcome to my channel. I'm Cece with One Green Pea. As a creator, I thrive when you interact, when we have somewhat of a conversation. So if you would take a moment and give a love tap on that thumbs up, leave a comment, share my content, it would mean the world. Now, as to today's content, cringy intro aside, I do prefer larger plants. If I were given a choice, I would prefer fewer larger plants than lots of smaller plants. There are just fewer plants to water and take care of. Larger plants also tend to be a little hardier, and I just like the visual aesthetic of it. But you don't have to buy plants big. There are some plants that just make sense to buy a little bit smaller. You'll save money. Often the plants I'm going to describe grow vigorously, and some of them just have really unique features as small plants that I wouldn't want you to miss. Now let's get to that list. If you know me, the first plant on my list is not going to surprise you at all. It's the pothos, the Epipremnum aureum. So why is this one on the list? Because it grows so vigorously. It's the fastest growing plant in my collection, bar none. It's also very, very easy to propagate. And so you can create new plants very easily, but you can also use the cuttings, the rooted cuttings, to put back in the pot to give your pot a fuller, bigger look. These are cuttings that I recently took from one of my pothos, and they're already rooting. They go that fast. This has probably been a week in water. And because I took so many cuttings, I can take this whole rooted mass in about another week to 2 weeks and plant it right in soil. And then I've got another beautiful plant. So the pothos, definitely don't buy that one big. The second plant on my list is another one that I talk about a lot, and that is the spider plant. The spider plant is similarly a vigorous grower, but it also has a cool feature. It creates its own babies, its own small plants. So you'll get a long runner, and then off of the runner comes a plantlet. Let me show you what I've done on my bigger plant with one of those plantlets. So this spider plant, as you can see, has the long runner, and off of the runner is not just one plantlet, but a second one. And I took that second one and just laid it right on the soil. You can pin it down if you want with like a bobby pin or something, but the roots are gonna go right into the soil. And when I feel like it's fully rooted, I can just cut it right off of that runner. The runner will keep making more plantlets, and I'm just gonna continue to have a fuller plant. So the spider plant, don't buy it big. Plant number 3 on my list of plants to buy small is the Ficus elastica. This is the ruby variation. I am obsessed with rubber trees or Ficus elasticas. They are just such cool plants, and they grow basically into trees. Now, they're not as fast growing as, say, the spider plant or the pothos, but it doesn't take that long to take a plant from this size into a floor plant, 2, 3, 4 feet tall and taller. I have 2 other rubber trees, and they are much taller than this plant, and I just really enjoy watching them grow and encouraging them to branch by pinching and notching the stems, and those are really cool techniques that I'll talk about more in another video. But another plant that you don't have to buy big is the Ficus elastica. The next plant on my list might be a surprise to you, and that is the Monstera deliciosa. Now, the Monstera is on my list because It's so interesting to see the variation in form from a juvenile plant into a giant plant. Now, the process to get there, it's not quick, but you can get there. This is a plant that I started as a propagation, just a one stem propagation from my main plant, and it's already started fenestrating. So something to note is that in the juvenile plant, the leaves don't have those cool fenestrations that the Monstera deliciosa is so known for. So it's really an exciting process to be able to see a plant mature and begin to push out fenestrated leaves. Another reason is that a large furniture size Monstera deliciosa can be rather expensive. You can get the smaller plants much more reasonably, and then you get to enjoy the process of watching it mature. So I would suggest buying the Monstera small. Next on my list of plants that you should buy small is the cane begonia, or the Begonia maculata. This giant plant started out as 3 small plants that I picked up at my local grocery store. I was so taken by the polka dotted leaves, and I just loved how they looked. Eventually, I decided they would look better in one big pot, so I combined them. So why would you buy a Begonia maculata small? Well, because first of all, I think they look kind of cool, small and full. I just think it's a really pretty plant. They can get rather gangly once they start to get bigger. Another reason is that really easy to propagate. And so what I plan to do with this plant is cut off some of these taller stems, propagate them in water, and then fill my pot and make it even fuller, because I appreciate that fuller look rather than a plant that just seems to be reaching for the ceiling. In addition, a big full Begonia maculata like this would be really expensive. And it's very satisfying to grow a plant from small form into something really big and impressive. The final plant on my list of plants you should buy small are succulents. Small succulents are, well, first of all, just super cute. They're also very inexpensive and widely available. You can get so many different varieties if you buy them small. Now, I'm a big fan of succulents in a combined arrangement. I just adore this tiny little planter, and I'm constantly pinching it back so it stays small. I've also put some in wooden boxes like this that I think, again, just looks really beautiful. I love, for instance, the string of pearls just strung all the way along, and I just keep pinching them back and filling them in. If you want your succulents to grow bigger, you simply give them more space. Succulents are kind of like fish in a fish tank. The more space they have, the bigger they will grow. I even have a giant pot that has 3 different jade plants in it that is just, I think, so spectacular and cool. So succulents are definitely a plant to buy small. Thank you for watching my video of plants I think you should buy small. Of course, I have lots of ideas about plants that you should just go ahead and buy big. I'll leave that for another video. Remember, before you go, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done that. As always, my sweet plant friends, let's keep growing together a greener world.